Girl Abriah, Serenity, and I'm back at you with another prophetic dream, another prophetic word. And this specific message is about God ordained spouses and God ordained marriage. In this dream, I was on my way to my God ordained spouse's apartment, and I had a key to his apartment. Like, he gave me the key to his apartment. I think he knew I was coming. And when I got there, the apartment was nasty, junky. It was as if like he had went weeks without cleaning it. And so, instead of like, texting him and say, yo, you need to clean up, out of the kindness of my heart, I just begin to do, I clean up. So I clean up the living room, I clean up the kitchen, I clean up the dining area, I vacuum, I sanitize. It's smelling good and sparkling by the time that I'm done. I take a picture of the apartment and I send it to him. And his response is not what I wanted it to be. It's not what I thought it would be either. And so he was kind of dry, unappreciative in appearance. I'm not gonna say he was unappreciative, but it seemed that way in the dream. I was really hoping that he was gonna be like, thank you, appreciate you, or something, but no. And I kind of was just like, did I overstep? Did I do something wrong? Are you okay? Like, what's going on? Responded to me and said, you've already shown me the Bible. You've already shown me the love of Christ. You've brought the gospel to me. How much more are you gonna do for me? Like, are you saying I'm doing too much? Are you saying I've done enough? What are you trying to say? And he was just like, is this it? Like, are you gonna do more? Like, is there more love to give? Do I have to be looking forward to this for the rest of my life? I was just really offended. I was just really offended, and I was just like, I didn't reply to him though. I didn't reply. I kind of just retreated. I left it on red, and I kind of went to my prayer closet, and then I woke up. So of course I went back to the Lord and I said, Lord, give me scripture. Give me passages in the Bible to explain what you're trying to communicate with me and what you want me to communicate with your people. And so of course it took some time for him to give me those passages because they didn't come right away. It took like a week for me to get one passage, and then another passage came like a week after that. Hence why my video is just now coming out right now. Kind of was like, Lord, what you trying to say? So the first passage he led me to was 1 Peter chapter 3, verses 1 through 4. Where it says, wives, likewise, be submissive to your own husbands, that even if some do not obey the word, they without a word may be won by the conduct of their wives when they observe your chaste conduct accompanied by fear. Do not let your adornment be merely outward, arranging the hair, wearing gold, or putting on fine apparel. Rather, let it be the hidden person of the heart with incorruptible beauty of a gentle and quiet spirit, which is very precious in the sight of God. First read that passage, the first message that he was trying to get across to me clicked. So in the dream, I was offended, right? I felt like I had did what the Lord called me to do. I was modeling the love and care, that I had for this person, and it seemed like they didn't appreciate it, right? It seemed like they were kind of like rejecting it almost. And so I kind of was just like, okay. They spoke what they said. I did not reply. You know what I'm saying? I did not engage. I kind of just left it as it was, and I went to my prayer closet. There's a lot of people out here with God ordained spouses right now who have a life right now that isn't necessarily the best. The messy apartment represented this person's life, right? Their life is not in order. There were even traces of a woman in that apartment, right? Some stuff she left behind, or maybe she be in there sometimes too, who knows? Like in the dream, the Lord was saying this person's life is all over the place. This person got stuff everywhere. And even though you may be trying to help them because you've been called to help them, they are not always going to appreciate or respond in the ways that we feel like they should respond. And in the event that this person seems to reject you or reject what the Lord has called you to do, and help them or whatever, you are still to keep conduct. Okay, you are not to act out of character. You are to have a gentle and quiet spirit and just simply nod your head and say, okay. You are to just go to the Lord and pray and submit to the Lord and keep yourself on that altar, because the moment we allow our emotions and our feelings to start controlling the way we react, we can start to compromise things, right? And so a lot of these men are also in these positions where their life is a mess, and they're not used to having not even just men, but women as well. They're not used to having a partner who is a helper. They're not used to having someone who genuinely cares about them and is genuinely doing things for them just out of the kindness of their heart, because the Lord has led them to do so with no strings attached. It's calling some of us to do some things that are outside the box, and these people are having a hard time accepting that. They're kind of just like, I can't let you do that. Like, you ain't got to do all that. You've done enough. You've done enough for me. You've done enough. You gave me the gospel. You be praying for me. You did enough. You don't need to help me clean up my life. You don't need to help me get in order. You don't need to help me do none of this. And you kind of just like feel rejected, or you feel disrespected, or you feel like they're unappreciative of you, when really it's just they're having a hard time understanding the love that you have that is from Christ. They have a hard time understanding the unconditional love that comes with you, because they don't understand the love of God. They don't understand the love of Christ, right? So anytime you do something for them, or you do something the Lord has called you to do, they don't understand it. They seem like they don't appreciate you, but it's just that they're having a hard time wrapping their brain around it. Don't be offended. Don't feel rejected. Go to your prayer closet, and do not engage in meaningless tit for tat conversations where you're trying to almost argue with them. Don't do that. It says be submissive. Like, not be submissive to some foolishness. No, be submissive and have a gentle and quiet spirit. Okay, when they seem like they're rejecting you, let them. You know, when they seem like they don't want to receive what the Lord has called you to give them, let them reject that. The people, you have to understand, people still have free will. You know, people still have free will, and they can decline things. The Lord is not going to force you to take something. He's just going to present it to you. He's going to be like, oh, you want that? You know, but they don't have to take it. You know, they don't have to take it. There's another scripture the Lord led me to, which was Matthew 12, verses 43 through 45, where it says, when an unclean spirit goes out of a man, he goes through dry places seeking rest and finds none. Then he says, I will return to my house from which I came. And when he comes, he finds it empty, swept, and put in order. And then he goes out to take him 7 other spirits more wicked than himself, and they enter and dwell there. And the last state of that man is worse than the first. So it shall be with this wicked generation. See that, you know, unclean spirits were gone. Like, they were gone, and the house was clean and it was put together, and somehow they were able to come back and, you know, make even more of a mess. How does that connect to the dream? We cannot keep our God-ordained spouses' temples clean for them. Okay, the house, the apartment in my dream also represented their temple. Cannot keep that for them. They still have to have a willingness to keep their own home. Yes, we are helpers, and there's some things that the Lord has called us to do as their partners, but they have to have a willingness. Okay, because if they are not willing, and we're over here trying to do everything for them to keep their house clean, to make sure they're good, the moment we stop doing it, these unclean spirits are going to come right back. They have to learn how to manage their own home, their own temple. They have to manage their walk with God. And so that's the other side to this message, is that, yes, like, some of these people may be rejecting you, and they may be like feeling funny about what you did, but it's not about you. It's not about you. It's about them having a hard time understanding and receiving the love Christ wants for them. You know, because somebody who's never had Christ's love, it could be a lot. It's a lot. You guys know, for those of us that do have the Holy Spirit, when the Lord does anything for us, it brings us to tears. And specifically, the men have a lot of problems processing their emotions and things like that. They have a lot of problems crying, you know, and registering the love that they feel. It's a lot for them. So sometimes, instead of them embracing it, they push back, you know, and don't take it personal. It's not about you. That's the first part. Keep being a gentle and quiet spirit. Don't challenge them. Don't talk back. Don't give them no lip. You keep doing what God has called you to do, and you stay on that altar, and you submit to the Lord, and you do whatever he tells you to do, even if this person doesn't seem like they're being receptive to what the Lord is calling you to do. It's not about you. And just know that if they reject you, they're not rejecting you. They're rejecting him who sent you. Part of this is that you cannot keep your spouse's house clean for them. You cannot keep their temple clean for them. You cannot do this walk for them. Okay, if they don't want to keep their house clean, you can't make them keep their house clean. If they don't want to follow God, you can't make them follow God. If they're not ready to read the Bible, you can't make them read the Bible. If they're not ready to give up sin, you can't make them give up sin. The only thing that you can do is keep doing what God has called you to do. Okay, you are still to model the love of Christ for them even still. And I see this with a lot of men in particular. They still want to exercise their free will over God's will. And so that's why we always have to remember that a lot of people have free will and they can choose what they want to do. But us, for those who are in wait, for those of us who are standing in faith, and we answer to God. We don't answer to man. You know what I'm saying? This person gonna be like, I don't want you to do this for me. I don't want you to do this for me. Blah blah blah. And it's like, I'm not doing this because I feel like you want me to do it. I'm doing it because he told me to do it. And when he tell me to stop, and when he tell me to bow out, and when he tell me that enough is enough, I will walk away. But I don't answer to you. I answer to him. Keep doing what the Lord has called you to do, even if it seems like this person is not responding. And do understand that if there's someone out there who is doing too much, because there is a such thing as doing too much. If the Lord did not instruct you to do it, don't do that. Don't overstep. Don't move ahead of God thinking I'm just trying to help. You could be just trying to help your way into some rejection. What the Lord has called you to do, but don't overstep. Understand that the person that you're in wait for has to be willing. They have to be willing on their own to do this walk. They have to be willing to submit to the Lord. There's nothing, no amount of things that you can do to make this person walk right. They have to be willing. Also, another part of this is that a lot of these people are feeling bad. Okay, they're feeling bad because you're so good to them. And it's just making them see how wicked they are, right? You're doing all these things that only the Lord can instruct someone to do. And it's making them feel convicted. Making them like, oh my gosh, I'm such a bad person. Oh my gosh, how is it that they are capable of doing this for me? It's making them look at themselves in a way that they cannot stand. They're starting to not be able to stand themselves because you're so good to them. They are having a hard time believing that they can measure up. And so sometimes they wish you would just stop doing good stuff for them so they can have some satisfaction and not feel so bad about them. Because they know in order to be with you, they got to step it up. And a lot of people, men and women included, don't want that responsibility that comes with being a God-ordained spouse, because not only are they called to ministry, they're called to serve you. For the first time in a lot of these people's lives, they have to be selfless. And a lot of people are so used to being selfish. They take. And everything good that they do is not even really truly out of the goodness of their heart. It's just a performance. But with you, it's different. They're feeling that conviction. And every time you do something the Lord tells you to do, it makes them feel good that they're loved. But at the same time, it makes them feel so bad. Because it makes them remember how bad they are. Right? How messy their house is. You came and you cleaned their house and they realized, she had to clean my house because it was messy, because I'm dirty. I'm dirty. I wouldn't have had to clean it if I wasn't dirty. And they feel bad about being dirty. Not that you help them clean it up, but because it reminds them that they're filthy. Right? And that the Lord needs to make them a new garment. A lot of my men and women to be encouraged, okay? Because I'm going to make a video about this as well next week, talking about free will and what that can mean for people, right? A lot of people are so focused on the person, not the promise. They're so attached to the person that they want to be a part of the promise. But sometimes people exercise their free will over God's will. And sometimes people can still choose to go do their own thing. And that does not mean that the Lord's promise for you will go unfulfilled. It just means that person won't be attached to it. That's not nothing to be sad about. That does not mean you were deceived. That does not mean you were wrong. Because some of you have been going through a whole process, okay? A whole process, had dreams, confirmations, and they weren't false confirmations. The Lord has had an encounter with this person that is just truly undeniable. And some people still choose to go against the grain and go do whatever it is they want to do and be in the world just a little bit longer because they are not willing to surrender. In the event that is you, or you feel like it's getting to that point, be encouraged, because you're still going to be a husband. You're still going to be a wife in a timely manner in which he wanted you to be a wife or a husband. Your fulfillment is not tied to a person, it's tied to God. You will be fulfilled. Okay, you will be fulfilled. Yes, you will have to go through a time where you're mourning that person that you thought was going to be a part of this promise, and with some disappointment maybe. You may even be looking at God like, God, you told me this, you said that. I thought this, I thought that, I assumed this, I assumed that. But the Lord is like, better that I have in store for you, an even greater testimony that I have in store for you, all the things. And we'll talk about that later. But just know that a lot of these God ordained spouses are feeling convicted in this hour. They feeling filthy. They feeling dirty. And all the good things that are coming from you was making them feel even more conviction. And it's basically holding a mirror up to them. The Lord is like, look at who you are. You know, not because he wants them to hate themselves, but it's like, I want to fix that. The Lord is like, I want to fix that. I want to love you. And I'm going to send people to you that are going to show you who I am. You know, and the people he's sending their way is like, oh, it's so much. It's so overwhelming. I'm so loved unconditionally. I'm not used to this. The child inside of them that was not loved when they were a child is like crying. They can't even fathom. So again, remember that this is not about you. Remember that this is about them and their walk with God. And if they reject you and they're not seeming to be responsive to the things that the Lord has you doing, keep yourself on that altar. Do not allow your emotions or your heart to fool you or sway you into doing or saying things that could compromise you, not just with this person, but just in general. Okay, remain gentle and of a quiet spirit. Okay, submit to the Lord at all times and just do what he tells you to do. Okay, if it look like ain't nothing happened, do it anyway. And when the Lord says enough is enough, the Lord will call you away. The Lord will separate you from that person. The Lord will be like, all right, enough is enough. I presented this before the first day, they didn't want it. Okay? But for those of you who are, you know, still standing, keep the faith. Even if you're feeling rejected, just know, like, not to dwell on that. Know that the Lord is still moving on your behalf. Keep praying for your God ordained spouse, because a lot of them are on the brink. They're so close. They're so close. It's that willingness that's holding them back, right? That willingness, they still have to surrender. They haven't fully surrendered. They know the call. They know what the Lord is telling them to do. They know, but they stuck. They stuck. Pray that them chains be up off their feet. Pray that the Lord give them guidance and direction. Pray that the Lord give them clarity. Pray that the Lord give them a sense of urgency. Pray that the Lord help them understand why. Some people still have to release. I had posted a prophetic word that's called, I forgot, I'm gonna put it up here, but it was talking about tying up loose ends, right? And some of your God ordained spouses are tying up loose ends, which means there were still some people in their lives they had to get rid of. There's still some friends they need to stop talking to. There's still some places they need to be like, I can't go here no more. I gotta delete your number. I gotta get a new number. There's still parts of their lives that they need to release. And in that apartment, you know, I saw traces of an old relationship in this apartment. And I had to clean it up, you know. And the Lord is like, these people are tying up loose ends, okay? And that is also what you could be seeing as well. You could be seeing them tying up loose ends. And it may look like they're not being productive. And it may look like they're not doing nothing. And it may look like they're rejecting you. But they really tying up some loose ends. And they just have to make sure all those doors are closed, okay? I love you all with the love of the Lord. As always, take this word back to the Lord and see if it's for you. I dropped a lot of things in this video. I dropped a lot. So you might need to like rewatch it multiple times. But there's a lot of things to take away from this video. I love you all with the love of the Lord. Remember to test the spirit. Take it back to the Lord and see if this applies to you. And I'll see you guys next time.